Well, we are inside the room, back in the ladies' room for today, Wednesday, February 24. Good morning, everybody. Good of you to join us for another day. And as always, we are so thankful to be in your company. And of course, I'm joined by Kareem, and we got a pretty interesting conversation. I mean, we'd have had lots of conversation, lots of debates surrounding this topic this morning, and we just want to highlight it a little bit. And of course, I also promised to have that conversation regarding, that video that was circulating some time ago with the young men and, their thought pattern when it comes to women and, things that they're thinking about. So we definitely got to make a day and have a serious conversation on that. But in the meantime, we've got an interesting one for you this morning. Kareem?
Morning. You good?
Mm-hmm. Always good.
All right. So we're going to jump right into it. The question today, guys, is corporal punishment an effective way to correct children, or is it more likely to cause lasting harm? That is the question today. Is corporal punishment an effective way to correct children, or is it more likely to cause lasting harm? That's what we're discussing today.
So there you have it, guys. We're talking corporal punishment. Let me just give you a couple seconds to come into the room quickly and share the live. And I'm seeing a couple parents on the live, so I'd love to get your feedback. And of course, remember, you can also call 440-9595. You can also call us and give us your take on this morning's scenario, this morning's question. Is corporal punishment an effective way to correct or discipline children? Has it worked for you? Does it really work? And at some point, you're going to hear somebody saying, well, I got lash, I got licks, I got this, like that as a child, but it didn't do me anything. Did it really not do you anything? I mean, how are you dealing with your children? How do you respond to your partner? Because, I mean, we're in 2021. And if we still have to beat children to be disciplined or to correct them, to me, that says more about your parenting skill than the child. And as I said, I know somebody's going to come in with, yeah, we all ate licks as children, but did we die? No, but was it right? Think about it as a child. You were just beaten. How did it make you feel? Did you feel proud? Did you feel good? Did you feel love towards your parent? Or did you go into your room and think of making little things and all sorts of thoughts were in your mind about them? I don't think love was the thing on your mind when you got licks, when you ate licks practically. I don't think you had love, you felt love towards your parents for eating licks. I mean, different parents have different ways of, disciplining their children. But the question is it effective? Because at one point, you got licked so much that it didn't even bother you anymore. Like, you got licks for something and you were like, you know what? I'm going to do it anyways because I know they're just going to beat me in the end. So let me just take my lash and do it anyways. Did it stop you from doing? Someone says licks made them a more disciplined and respectful man today. So you had to be beaten to be respectful and disciplined. So you couldn't have not, okay, go to your room. And then we didn't have no door. We had curtains. So you go in the room and you slam your curtain. You slam your curtain on your way in the room. You didn't have no door. There was no door. Every room didn't have no door. Back then you had a nice curtain for privacy. So you slam your curtain and you go in your room. Did it really? That's a question we really need to ask. Because someone says it made them more disciplined. As compared to what though? If you didn't get licks, you would not be disciplined. You would not, your parents spoke to you or gave you time out or took stuff away from you, or you can't go in the river with your friends, you can't go out, you can't, as compared to what? So does corporal punishment really work?
You see, back then it was different, eh? Back then it was still different because I mean, I could understand the part where he said that it helped him to be the guy he is today, you know, helped him to have discipline and stuff. Because you see, even when I was growing up, right? I mean, I young, but I go through that as well, you know. When you see you have to get licks, it wasn't just go for the belt, eh? As the thing, you know, it wasn't just go for the belt and I'll give you a 3 or I'll give you a 5 or something. It was anything that they find in her. The pot, spoon, any. Listen to something. If you're outside, you're getting into something outside. If you're in the kitchen, you're getting into something in the kitchen. They ain't not time to send you in the room and
go and pick up bells.
Ain't not time for that. You don't have time for that. And when you're getting licks, right? When I was getting licks, listen. If you, for example, if you come home too late from school, you're getting it like that. I tell you, don't come home late
one
from school.
One for each word.
That's where you getting it.
One for each word.
So, you think you doing that again easy? I mean, you might do it again, but you're definitely ain't doing it the next day or the day after that. Because you remembering that your bottom burning.
And you're right. Someone says, you know, that when they spoke to you while they were beating you, it was never a case, this person here is saying our parents never used to speak to us before they beat us. It was never a case of, okay, let's have a conversation. And if you do it again, we're going to have to resort to some
conversation. Listen,
there was no...
Your parents had this thing that you and I are not peers.
No, we're not
I
friends.
am not supposed to reason anything with you. You the child, I'm that. We ain't reasoning nothing. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. As opposed to that, could that work? Could that having the conversation and reasoning work instead of like beating a child? Because I mean, I could understand a few taps on the leg, a few taps on the buttocks or something. But when we talk about beating, like you said, whatever they found, broomstick, mop stick, piece of wood outside. You've even seen instances where weapons, cutlasses, different, whatever they found was rained on you. And we're saying that is okay and it didn't do us anything. I'm not sure. I mean, how much is too much? I can understand a little tap and a little slap or whatever, but getting punched and slapped in the face and all sorts of things, does that really work?
Well, you see, back then it had to work because remember.
Well, like I said, I knew back then lots of kids
we not phone to take away, we not laptop to take away, right? We, telling a child, you can't go down the road and play cricket. Well, who is you? You turn your back, you go on the phone and you go and cook us some night down the road playing cricket and I coming back and I go in and sit down, nice, as well, I ain't going away. So back then, and then remember too, our parents, grandparents, guardians, they were basically doing what was done to them. They were parenting the best way they know how because there was no books and internet now to come and say, oh, this is wrong and thing.
You learn from your parents.
Yeah, so they were parenting, and I only got to understand that maybe last year because trust me, I grew up with that, and boy, these people and them used to just, and I just so I grew up with that, but just.
Kimo, a while ago in the chat, you said you were disciplined, you were beaten, and it made you disciplined. But here now you're saying you was real ashtray, so licks in your tail. So that means that the disciplining in the form of corporal punishment didn't work because you were still ashtray. So if it worked and made you disciplined, after you got blows the first time, you would refrain from doing whatever, and you would refrain from being ashtray in our local world. But you continue to be ashtray and you continue to be beaten. So does it really work?
Chick say after you get Alex Day, you didn't do it again. That's how bad it was. You did it again. No, for but think about it.
Someone says this is all from slavery, which was handed down to us, and we have to stop. I maintain that. As somebody you got licks, I maintain that there are other ways to discipline your child or children without reverting to beating your child. A little tap here and there, it's fine. But when you're talking beating with, anything you could find. Does that work? Is that helping the child to be disciplined, as we say?
I mean, everything has evolved now. And for me, I would not use that method these days, right? Because remember, children, they've adapted, they've evolved one way or the other they have. So right now they have a different mindset, right? Remember, the music has changed, social media has changed, everything has changed. So remember them children growing up now and feel, what Sonny say, she want a G. All of them growing up now feeling them is G and them is the real Dan. So you go in and hit them, they want to hit your back. They want to get on with you. They want to... So you have to look at that now and say, well, wait now, maybe I cannot use the same methods that were used on me when I was growing up. I want and all you unplug the Wi-Fi modem. Go to work with it.
Someone here is saying corporal punishment is different to cruelty and abuse. Well, that's the thing. Some people don't know the difference. They don't know. There's a very thin line between the two. Some people think that it's okay once, you're alive and you didn't have to go to the hospital for broken bones, and there's children who are in situations where they have broken bones, etc. So there's a thin line, and my question is, are parents able to differentiate between the two? Corporal punishment and abuse. So some people abuse their children and refer to it as corporal punishment. It does not work, or is it suitable as a form of punishment in today's society? And I fully agree. How many actually understand the difference? Because a lot of the times, parents beat you in anger, right? They beat you out and something happens, and it's not a matter of, okay, let me cool down so I can be reasonable in the amount of licks I dole out to you, or I can, you would see that it's coming from a place of love, so I'll speak to you and then you'll get your blows. You get the blows during the anger. So full force is what you get. So are we really making a difference is the question. Someone says, good morning. No, it doesn't work. I beat my daughter. My daughter, talk to her. She goes back and do the same thing again. Another person says that's probably one of the reasons a lot of us are aggressive as adults today. Some parents wondering why we're so aggressive. Exactly.
Yeah, it lives on.
Corporal punishment, this person says, just instills fear in children. Additionally, it teaches children that violence is the way to resolve conflicts. And that is such a good point. That is such a good point, because listen, you beat your child for misbehaving, but your child goes to school and first thing something happens, your child want to fight and beat somebody else's child, and then you beat the child for wanting to beat somebody else's child. So where did that behavior of beating come from, or fighting to resolve an issue? How about, okay, did your child learn conflict resolution between you and them speaking? Something happened that you may not like. You sit your child down and let's talk about it and find a way to resolve it and come to some common understanding. But no, again, like you said, parents have this notion that I am parent, you're a child, we're not friends, so I have to beat you into submission, and I have to beat you to respect me. And that is where that shows the difference, that I am the parent and you are the child. If I beat you, you don't necessarily have to be friends, but instilling fear in your child, how is that helping the situation, really?
Thin line. It's a very tricky discussion, because some parents could say, well, what else you want me to do? That is what I know how to do. That is always done to me, and watch your eye turn out. So why shouldn't I use the same methods on my child? Some people may say that. But what about in schools, though? Where we have caning and all of that. What would you say to that? Where that method is used, for example, when, and I know Cheeks and so they know what I'm talking about, when Ashby beat you once, you ain't going back and do the same thing again. You know to walk the straight and narrow from now. When he call you by name and he say, Louis, and you have to walk behind him, go down to the principal office, and you know where they get 6 at the very best. That is it for you. Nobody hear your name call until Form 5 when you graduate. So, what?
There's someone who was asking, isn't spanking different from corporal punishment? Of course, punishment, physical punishment, caning, flogging, that constitutes as corporal punishment. So you're being flogged with all sorts of things. Probably in school you'll have that belt. And I remember in primary school there was this teacher that everybody was afraid of because there were rumors that the belt made out of pure leather was soaked in urine that made it really firm.
And
So
when you go secondary school,
when
you have
you
the
got
kid.
beaten by that particular teacher, you couldn't walk properly for hours. The back of your leg, your back, and that was corporal punishment, flogged. And as someone here again is saying, these corporal punishments derive from slavery, and this flogging with objects is no different to what the slaves are subjected to. Hold on, let me see, somebody's on the line. We have a caller. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
I'm calling to chime in because that's a rather passionate topic for me. And I will start off by saying we must remember that our parents did what they thought was best at the time. But now we live in an era where we know better and we have to do better. But unfortunately, a lot of us still don't know better. You understand? We still think that the methods our parents handed down to us, because we somewhat grew up as an average, decent human being, we think that is directly because of everything that they have done to us. So some of us still, we ain't really reached the point where we know better. Honestly, we haven't. We still operating from the traumas that has been handed down to us. But when you really evaluate the actual concept of beating children, not just disciplining them with spankings or timeouts or slaps on the hand, but actually premeditated beating. Your parents used to plan you're going to get that beating. Premeditated.
And what about the
beating.
times you got beaten, you didn't do anything, but just in case you're thinking about doing it, or you heard about the neighbor child doing it, so you get some lash in case you have plans to do it as well?
I ain't grew up that far back there. I can't imagine that one. But I do know that when I hear adults say, oh, I turned out okay, I don't think they realize, no, you haven't. No, you haven't. Not because of the beating. You haven't. And when you pass on that to your children, and let's say 2020, 2021, you still think that the best way to discipline a child is to take an object and flog them and beat them, that there's no way a child can relate to you and understand the discipline and the punishment they need other than beating them. And let's not forget there's exceptions and there's rules. So I know a lot of people that say, well, my child this and my child this and this child, they can't talk to them, they need beating. You cannot grow up a child for 10 years a certain way and all of a sudden when you reach 11, okay, I can go beat him, I'll talk to him and see if that helps. You already train him that he responds, but he doesn't really respond to the beating. But that's all he know from since he 5, 6, 7, all he know. Every time he talk too hard, he beats. Every time he don't do what you say, he beats. Now he reach 11, 12, and he grew up in that. You're ready to maybe try a new approach. And when it's not working, you think, oh, you can't talk to children, you have to beat them. No, if you start off disciplining your child in a certain way, as for somebody is talking about speaking to your children, the importance of listening, adhering, etc., etc., etc. We know children have different personalities, and one thing wouldn't work for everybody. But that is not an excuse to insert beating in there as a means of discipline.
At that point, you get immune to those beatings.
Of course, I got immune to mine.
You know you're going to get it, so I might
pants.
as well just do it anyways.
I used to go to bed with a jeans pants on if I know Lord, if I go find out what I do, and feel you beat me tomorrow. And that didn't stop me from doing it, because I reached a point, I'll just take the lashery. I mean, and especially children in this generation, nothing with them children.
Yep.
They'll figure it out. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Yep. And yet that caller is so right. It is so right. I mean, back then, yeah, you could probably give them a pass. But now, with technology and so many different sites you can go for parenting tips and ways to deal with children or discipline children. There's so many avenues that are open to, but folks just aren't interested in learning. And like someone made the point, they were beaten as a child, didn't do anything to them. So I guess as much, if you didn't do anything to me, then he wouldn't do anything to my child. But you are not your child. You and your child are not one and the same. Probably how you felt and how your child feels is two different things now. Children before and children now, they aren't the same. Listen, you'd give a baby like a couple months, not even a full year baby, you hand them your phone and they're sliding. The little fingers are sliding across the screen, sliding and opening. Imagine going directly to a YouTube app and sliding to look for their little Peppa Pig and who they look for. They know exactly what to do and you don't have to tell them anything. Have you ever experienced that? Just watching a baby navigate a phone? How they know to put their phone by their ear? How they know to slide across and open tabs and open different apps? We're talking babies, 1 year old. And we're still... Hold on, somebody's on the line. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. I would just want to chime in on the program.
Sure, go right ahead.
Yeah, as a father, I'm talking about it from a father point of view. I mean, I grew up in a time when licks, not abuse, was part of the method used for correction. And I think in this modern time, there's something called, psychology. And, you have all kind of consultant and all sort of things. Now, I think we're using this to create a kind of barrier and term it as abuse. And, one might say, let me go from me. My mother has 5 of us. She didn't abuse us, but I know in the environment in which I grew up, I know up to today, all of us is over 40, and up to today, my mother would have slept well during the night knowing that no police or anybody would come knocking her door, complaining about her children. And it's not because she abused us. We get licks when we did something wrong. So the point that saying that it's slavery thing and we grew up, no, I don't agree with that at all. Because if you look at all most of the people that end up, as decent person in society, they would tell you at some point in time this parent beat them.
But do you think it's the beating that's responsible for them being decent individuals?
It helped in many, many ways. It helped in many, many ways.
But that's physical harm, right? That's hurting you, right?
Hurting what?
When you're beaten, you don't laugh when you get blows. You cry, right? And you cry because of the pain.
No, sometimes you laugh because you laugh it off. Children laugh it off. I know sometimes mommy go beat us, and then afterwards you you get licks on your laugh. But there is a bit.
But during the process, when you're beaten,
yes,
when you're getting beaten,
abuse. You're talking about abuse. There is abuse and there is licks for doing wrong things, and wrong things should be punished. This is what happens. The parent today that doesn't pay no attention to the children end up paying a lawyer to defend them in the end. We don't pay attention to the wrong that the kids are doing.
So what about those who are beaten and still, because we can't sit here and say every child that was beaten is a model.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
A model citizen. So what about those who are beaten and disciplined and still turned out to be this, that, or the other? What is the explanation for that?
There's exemption to every rule. But I'm saying, when you look at the vast majority, you think the Prime Minister can get licked? That guy from Barbados thing I saw Mac Finger, that is why. And he's talking about that same discipline thing. You see, we come with this psychology and this thing and making people go into this book thing and figure that children shouldn't get licks and parents shouldn't do this. Because all is a mind thing. Look today, the children that are being... I mean, you could talk, as the old saying that you could bring a cow to the water, you can force it to drink. But I grew up, and I've always say, thank God, I'm very, very happy the era I grew up in, and the institution I went to, with guys like Mr. Ashby and Miss Antoine and these people in the primary and secondary school, that these people are disciplinarians. Look at these slackers in the middle today. Look at these slackers they have today from.
You sound like Mr. Ashby, the slackers.
Look at them. So how children will be when you watch Mr. Ashby walk, you watch a man walk with decency and class. When you watch Mr. Antoine and these people how they conduct themselves, you have to have respect for them. I'm not dissing the present day today's teacher, but I'm talking that you see as level of discipline, just in the way some of these folks and them attire themselves. Gotcha. So I would never agree and see that because of slavery, blah 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 blah. The slavery, we take on more things than slavery apart from the licks that leading us along the wrong way, and we intend to change it. So I think licks for correctional reason is good. Not abuse, not that someone holding a child kneeling down and cuffing them up
But
and
you see,
dragging
that
them
is the
down.
problem. Not many people understand there's a thin line between the two.
I listen.
And you get more abuse than being disciplined coming from a good place. You see parents cuffing their children and it's abusive.
Yes, I have kids. I have 2 kids, and they, of course, they do things to hurt me. But I refrain. I try my best to talk, and yes, sometimes the hand might slap and fly and hit one, you know. But I try.
Fly and hit one.
Yeah, but I try my best, and I know. And this I'm talking about. If I have a boy child, whenever I hit him and he know I hit him for something right, that doesn't create no hatred between me and him. He come back and he hug me up. He comes back, hug me and kiss me. A little boy I'm talking about.
You probably
Because he know. Because I tell him, I say to him, listen to me, son. Your father here is a different parent for your other friends and parents. I'm a different parent from them. What them will get away with, you would not. And you need to understand that.
gotcha.
So sometimes we just have to talk to children, and I don't never agree that licks is wrong. In the once it's for a correctional reason.
Alrighty.
All right.
All right. Thanks so much for have a good one. As you said, the debate. It will we forever will be in a position where something it's not necessary, and others think, well, hey, is necessary. But my point remains: not many parents, come to their children from in a calm, rational manner and then administer corporal punishment. A lot of the times they come with the anger. Child would have done something, or you would have heard something. You don't even ask child for an explanation. Neighbor would come to you and say, hey, well, I see your child there doing this, that, or the other, and you immediately start raining blows without even asking, well, daughter, son, what? I'm hearing this. What's going on? Nothing, so I don't know.
But I mean, we're definitely seeing more and more parents take that sort of approach, though. That sort of talk. Try your best to refrain from the licks. But half of the problem is this, right? Back then, when you getting licks as a child, that's the same rule that applies in your neighbor house, in your friend down the road. If all they do something wrong, everybody getting licks when they reach home. But now where times have changed so much, you thinking, boy, I getting licks, my friend ain't getting licks, my neighbor ain't getting licks, that one ain't getting licks, so why is just me? So you growing up with that sort of anger now because that is no longer the norm. So you feel like I get an abuser. It's just unfair to me.
That's what I'm from a young age, we're associating love with lash, and we're not seeing the bigger picture at all. So then there is a relationship, there is a correlation. I don't care what nobody says. You get beaten from your father, whatever, and then you go into relationships and you're beaten and you don't think, okay, he's disciplining me because that's what my parents did. He loves me, that's why he's beating me, and you stay in situations where you still, I don't know. It's debatable. It's highly debatable. I don't think in 2021 that we should still be beating children to because, like I said, the baby 6 months knows how to navigate a phone. So if we start from early to discipline and talk to your child and instill, love and all those things, why is it necessary to beat them to hear or to learn? Let me just take this last comment here. This person says, but when you're grown, you're mature enough to know right from wrong. Disciplining a child and flogging like a slave, instilling bruises because you're a parent is wrong. Parents back then seriously abused children. I was flogged, cut up, bathed, and beat again by others in the name of discipline. I still learned what I wanted to learn. Children can learn by speaking. My girls are grown and they're disciplined girls. Parents need to stop want kids to give them a name by forcing them to, I don't know, miss the end of that. Let me see if I can take this final one. Morning.
Good morning, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks.
Alright, I'm here to add to the program if I can.
Yes, go ahead.
Alright. Now, I listened to the last caller, and as a parent myself, I'm a recent parent, but I have to say, there's valid points on either side of the table, right? But you can use the information that was given out and that the children of today or they catch on faster, right? Due to their surroundings and their environment. And truth be told, times change. And as a result of that, this is why children are picking up more, because the adults are exposed to more. The adults do more in front of the children, or I should say, new things in front of the children, so the children can learn these new things faster. Some of the things that are happening today with adults weren't happening back in the day with adults, so children were not exposed to that. Right? Now, that being said, children can understand once they're spoken to the correct way, as well as
Nice.
can also respond faster with punishment in that of a little licks every now and then. Now, the parent has to understand the difference between abuse and corrective measures.
Ooh,
Very vital that they understand the difference between those.
gotcha.
And as a result of that, once they understand that, they can relay that information onto their children. In that, you get beaten for this reason. You're not abusing, as the previous caller said, but they have to understand the reason why they're being punished, and they can understand. So now you can see the child, that is, if I'm getting licks for being mischievous or disrespectful, then maybe I should try not, right? At the same time, the parent can also explain this in words. But you know, as an individual yourself, you have opinions. Everyone has their opinion. And a child also has their opinion. And they can say, even though my parents tell me not to do this, I feel that I should do it because I want to experience it. And it puts both the children and the parent in some ticklish positions when that happens. So sometimes a spanking goes the extra mile. It gives that extra nudge for the children to learn discipline faster, right? I grew up as well getting licks. My mother, I wouldn't say, both my parents, I wouldn't say they abused at all. Sometimes the punishment was more severe than other times, but the point came across clear, right? And as an adult now, I thank God every day for my parents and the methods that they used. Some of it I didn't like. Obviously, you don't like licks, right? But now, as an adult, I thank God for what they did, because I see things from both sides of the picture, because they took the both measures. They spoke to me as well as they punished me with physical beatings from time to time, when necessary.
Alrighty. But we gotta run now, so thanks so much, caller.
All right,
I appreciate it. All right. So like I said, something we probably have to do a part 2 on, because it's a lot. I still got a lot of comments and concerns. And yeah, and of course I knew I was gonna get the spare the rod and spoil the child proverb coming in, but it's debatable. What rod are we talking about? Yeah. So that's about all the time we've got. Yeah, I'm getting a couple scripture quotes as well. But that's all the time we got. We'll be back tomorrow and the final one for the week. And hope you guys will join us for another one. Of course, Ladies Room came to you through the kind compliments of Beacon Insurance and Western Union. I'm seeing a lot of really, really good comments. Gonna go back and follow up and read some of them. But thanks so much, guys, for being part of the show today. So looking forward to having you back in the room tomorrow. All right, happy Wednesday.